Quoting. Let's talk about quoting and how to quote and what happens when we don't quote right. In tonight's video, I'm going to talk about how to quote. I'm also going to show you how to get a quote. This is a question gets asked a lot of how much should I charge? And so tonight we are going to break down, hopefully my computer works for this, and I am going to share my screen and walk with you step by step of how to quote a house. And if anybody that has joined already, or I will ask again in a little bit, if you would like to have a house quoted, put the address in there, and I will also quote that house or kind of walk through the process so people can see how to quote for Christmas jobs, how to be profitable, how to get your average ticket to $2,000. And yes, I have several people getting their tickets to $2,000 average ticket. Does that mean they do some $1,500 jobs? Yes. Does that mean they do some $5,000 jobs? Yes. The average of your tickets, I want to try to get you to at least $1,500, right? How can I get your ticket to $1,500 to $2,000? That is my goal tonight, to walk you through, and then I'm going to show you also what happens when we don't do this, right? What are we leaving on the table at the end of the day? And so this is what my goal is, to help you to grow your business, because if you don't make the money, then you can't spend money on advertising, you can't pay your guys well, you go broke, and that is not what I want to happen to you in this year. So we are only 7 days away from October 1, which I know some of you will be starting in early October. Some of you have already started in September. And so it's exciting. This year has been very well. I posted this week, all on Monday. I had a guy that had closed $30,000, another guy that had closed $35,000. I had a guy that has already $150,000 in October booked. I got another guy sent me a message. He's already at $110,000 for October, and it's exciting, right? The one guy that's got $110,000 is just a young kid. He's like 24, 25 years old. He came to my class 2 years ago. He was broke. He didn't have no money. And this is what he's been able to do. And so it's awesome to see that he's already got $110,000 this year. And his goal is 400,000, but I'm trying to push him a little bit more. I feel like he could get to that $500,000 mark. And so that's what I want to talk to you tonight, to help you grow your business. So with that, my book of the week is See You at the Top. It's a book by Mr. Zig Ziglar. He was a great speaker of his time, and so I would highly recommend you to read this book. I promise you, you'll be able to take action from it. It will help you out. Now, there's one little problem for this book, is there's no audio book for it. I don't believe. I haven't found the audio yet. So I may need to look for it better. So you actually got to pick up the book and read it. I know usually I don't give you those books. I give you the books that are, the No BS Marketing, which is another great book. I'm actually reading it now. I love it. He talks about, I actually posted on this yesterday, of the $15 bottle of wine versus the $67,000 bottle of wine. What's the difference, right? And his wife's like, nothing is the difference. It tastes like wine is wine. And so it's kind of like Christmas lights, right? And so those are my book recommendations this week. So Joseph is waiting for some knowledge. Let's go. So this week, what do you got planned? Am I going to see you this weekend or in a couple weeks? This weekend, I know that there's quite a few going to be at Houston. I will be flying to Houston tomorrow night. I will be there till Sunday. And then I will have a training coming up in the middle of October and the end of October also. So I will get to see some of you. So with that, let's get this ball rolling, right? Actually, if you've closed some jobs already, I'd love to hear some of your all's wins and what you've closed so far, and how much do you have on the books for October or November, or maybe you're just starting, and so we're starting from zero. And so that's why I'm posting this video, is how to measure, because, and how to quote, because I want you to be successful at the end of the day. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it was work. No guarantees. So mastering the art of holiday light quoting. And so I've kind of put this together so that way you could actually see what I'm talking about. And then at the end, I see Carrie has posted a house, and then I will actually go in person and we'll walk through how I would typically do a house. So that's how we will do this tonight. So the first thing here is measurement. So how do we come up with the measurements? And so there's a couple ways that we can come up with the measurements. And the first one is you can actually use ChatGPT. You can use different things, holiday home concepts, Gemini, Banana. Those are two AIs that you can use, that if you put a pretty good prompt in there, it needs to be a detailed prompt, but it can usually measure it out, and it can also usually do a decent job of putting the lights on there. Sometimes you will get into a fight with ChatGPT, and sometimes you need to walk away and come back to it, but it can work very well. And so that is definitely something that you can use for that. There are several industry tools. There's Jolly Lights, that is for iPad. There's Home Holiday Concepts. Tinsel has one. Strander. There's a couple different ones out there that can all do the same thing. They can put the lights on the house. They can make the mock-up, and it looks great. If you want a free version, or KC said Gemini's works better for this. Especially with, I believe, since the new Gemini Banana image came out, I can see where that definitely works better. And so these are ways that we can do this for our mock-ups. And our mock-ups are just a good way to make things look better and to make things do it. Now, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way of measuring, you can. And basically, we're going off of known measurements. So if we see a door, which this would be the door, and this is not a great picture. I was fighting with the AI to get me a better picture, and I should have stole one somewhere else, and I didn't have time for it. But the door is 7 feet tall, right? We know that doors are 7 feet tall. We also know if there was a garage door over here, that they are either 8 foot wide for a single door, or 16 feet wide for a double. Now, another thing that I would use is I use one story is 10 feet. Now this obviously has a porch on the top, and if it's 2 stories to that front gutter line, that's typically 20 feet tall. And then I would also add, this is another 10 feet. So on this house here, I would say this is 10 feet. I would say this is another 10 feet. So that's going to be 20 feet. And then I'm probably 4 feet high here. So on this house, I would use this right here as my measurement of 10 feet long. Right? So on 10 feet long, I would just find me a piece of paper. So if you find a piece of paper or something, and you're just going to start taking that, or find something, maybe it's something on here, maybe my mouse is that long, right? Whatever I need to do. And I'm going to just start measuring out how far this house is. And so this is a great way that you can do this. Combining a mock-up tool like Holiday Home and Standard to put the dots in, and then running it through Gemini, it makes it more realistic, works amazing. So basically, so you're basically doing the mock-up, and then you're giving it to ChatGPT or to Gemini, and then redoing the picture. So you're not actually having Gemini make the picture, you're just running it through, making it darker, making it look more magical at the end of the day, right? And so that's what sells at the end of the day. So that's what we're going to use. These are some easy ways to do it. This is the way I used to do it. I know that a lot of times when I'm doing it, exactly. I know a lot of times when I'm measuring these houses, give you some play, because there's going to be times that you may forget. This dormer here, this is what we call a dormer up here. Is if this was a normal dormer, if you went back the sides, that's an extra 5 or 10 feet that if you don't measure that and you put lights there, now you're going to be, and there's 5 of these, now you're going to be 50 feet short. So just making sure that we are on par of knowing that we can add a little sugar or add some feet to it to make sure that we have the right amount of feet. So I'm talking about roof lines, and when I'm talking about roof lines, I'm talking about all the front lines. If we're doing the ridges, the peaks, all roof lines, right? This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about roof lines. So it'd be the gutters, it'd be the gutter across here, this gutter up here if we did it. If we did the peaks and the valley, or not the valleys, but the peaks, this would be what I consider the gutters of the house in the front line. So roof lines, we're going to be $8 to $12. This is where your bread and butter is made on these roofs. Trees, we're going to be 30 to 60 per foot of height of tree. So if the tree we have, I don't know if I got it. So if this tree here, right, this is 1 story, this is 2 stories. So that would be 20 feet. I would add a little bit more because it here. So I would say this is probably a 25-foot tree, because I go from the bottom up here to the top of that gutter. So that is a 25-foot tree. So that's what I mean by how I'm measuring trees is this here. And if it's an evergreen tree, like this tree here, then we're going to be $40 to $60 per foot. And depending on how big it is and how hard it is getting into, I'm going to be at the $60 a foot. If it's a tree that loses its leaves, I'm going to be $30 to $40 per foot. I'm going to be columns. I'm going to do 150 or 100 to 750, because we don't know how big the column is. We don't know how tall the columns are. You know, there's columns out there that are 3 floors high, 3 stories high, and 6 feet around, right? So that's going to be a really high column when we're done. We're going to do garland, wreaths. You know, garland is going to be $120 to $150 per 9-foot section. Garland has went crazy this year because of the shipping cost and everything. So these are all things that we are going to add to be able to get and our goal is to get our average ticket up, right? And so what happens when we don't charge the $8 a foot? Well, Jason, you know, I can get my material and I can do this, and $6 a foot is where I'm making money at $6 a foot. But let's think about that, right? 6 versus 8 or even 10, it can get worse, right? That's a 25% reduction of what you're getting. And so are you figuring the cost? And a lot of people don't figure this in their cost, because out here, well, it only cost me $1.50 to go hang these lights. Does it really only cost you $1.50? What about all the mails, the timers, the insurance, the marketing, the website, the employee, the costs just add up. The gas to get there, the van to get there. When it breaks down, who's paying that, right? These are all costs that we have to look at and think about when we are installing these lights. What happens when the lights don't work no more? What if we got to go back and do 1 or 2 service calls? These are all things that will take us and lose money for us. And so I love this here, $8 a foot. It's $1,600 in revenue, $960 in cost. That's $640 in profit, right? If you're at the $6 a foot, you are only bringing in $240. So that's $400 that we leave on the table. That's a 62.5% reduction in profit. Just like that, by thinking that, oh, I don't need to charge the $8 to $10 a foot. You know, the people that I was talking about this past week, the 4 or 5 people that I was talking about this week, all of them but one is at $8, is more than $8 a foot. One of them was at $8 a foot. All the rest of them that I had showed and was talking about the $30,000 and $35,000 and the $150,000, And there was actually a guy that was, I taught a long time ago, Andrew, he was at 68,000 on that day. They're all more than $10 a foot, right? They're all charging more than $10 a foot. And is there cheap people in their area? Absolutely there is. I guarantee it there is. I know for a fact that there is $4 and $6 a foot in these guys' areas. I promise you there's cheap guys. And those guys are the ones that will sit there and tell me, well, Jason, you just can't get that in my area. And I'm like, oh, really? Why can't you? Because you don't believe it. You are paying out of your own pocket. You would never pay that. And when you sell bulbs, this is what you get, right? This is why I teach selling the magic. You can't get $8 a foot if you're trying to sell bulbs. If you're trying to say, I peak the bulbs. Every bulb's going to be peaked, and I'm going to make it perfect. And we use LEDs, and they're so bright, and they're all so bright, and they're all LEDs, and they don't care if the peak is bulbed. And yes, I know I'm going to get hate for this, but that's okay because your customers don't care about it. So why do you care about it? They want to think about a memory when they were young with their grandkid, when their grandma and grandpa, and getting to go over grandpa's house and seeing the beautiful lights, and they want to give that to their kids. And this is the difference between charging the 8 to 12 versus the $6 a foot at the end of the day. So that's my little rant on that. So obviously this is a big thing too. You know, I've seen this several times. Jason sent me a message. He's like, yeah, what he put in, their budget was $2,500, and yes, they closed for $3,900, right? We're not going to just offer them what they want. I see this so many times. People are like, well, they only got a $2,500 budget. I don't want to, no, I'm going to give them more, right? I'm going to give them everything. I'm going to make it look amazing. I'm going to do the lights on the roof. I'm going to do up the peaks. I'm going to do the columns. I'm going to do the wreath. I'm going to do the path lights. I'm going to add everything. You know, I'm going to give it as much as I can to make that house look amazing. And that is the key to being able to get your average ticket up. To be able to get your average ticket up to $2,000, you need to be bidding $3,000, $4,000 on every job, because that it needs to be at least one package that's going to be at that $3,000 to $4,000 range, because you never know, somebody may say yes to you, and that's an awesome thing that we love when they do. So again, the winner, the trees that lose their leaves, we're going to be 30 to 50 bucks a foot. The evergreens 40 to 60. Determine the height of the tree. So if the tree is 10 feet tall, that's $400, right? So that's an easy way to do these here. Again, wrap columns, garland, wreaths, you know, 150 for a 24-inch, $400, $500, $600 for a 60-inch wreath. Pathway lighting, shrubs. Shrubs we're going to do at $60 or $30 to $60 per strand. So if we think it's going to take 5 strands, add 2 more just so you have enough, or 3, and that way you have enough for the lights and bushes. So this is an easy way, right? You can put a $400 wreath up. You can get I haven't seen them come out yet, the Sam's wreaths yet. Hopefully they come out, or this year might make me a liar. You never know. It ain't made me no liar yet, but it might. You can get them for $200. They got all kinds of stuff on them, and you can get them, and so you can get $400 out of it, and they work amazing. It literally takes you 10 minutes to put these things up. So that's the awesome thing about getting these up here. So again, the roof line, the peaks, you know, all of that, the columns, the wreath, the pathway lighting, the front maple tree, we're at $2,400, right? This is how you're able to get your average ticket up, right? We want to get our average ticket up so that way it looks great, but we can do it. So what are some pitfalls? Underpricing your services. I see it over and over and over. You know, I had a guy in the group, he was talking about it, and he's like, yep, I underpriced it and didn't get it. Inaccurate measurements. This is a big one. And I haven't seen a house, but if there's a house that has a bunch of dormers and you do that and you don't, you know, those are all things that can cause issues. If you only bid what they want and don't give them all the options, they're not going to take any more of that. right? And so these are all things that we have to look at when we are using this to grow our business. So again, I just wanted to jump on here and talk about how to make sure that you understand that, as you are doing this, you got to make sure that you are getting the right footage and how that works for you. So, do Facebook ads really work? And the answer is yes, they do really work. I know people that have had very good success with them, and they do work very well for Christmas sites. So, Kerry asked he gave an address here, and so I put earlier in this here, I would actually walk through a actual house. So we'll go over. So first thing is I like to type this in a lot of times into Google because I just want to kind of see how much this house is worth. Housley Drive. That isn't it, but let's see. Housley Drive. I think that's any of yours. 1405 Housley Drive. Let's see what it pulls up. Athens, Tennessee. So that is it. So this house here, I always like to just to see kind of how much it's worth. Is one thing I'd always like to do. Last sold for $149,000. So not much. So this is just a simple house, right? And so what I would do here is I like to just kind of zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see how big the door is and what you're looking at. You got some bushes, you got here. Now, there's a couple ways that you can measure this one. This one would be real easy to measure here. And basically, let me go back this way. So what I would do is I would just click on maybe. So another thing you want to look at too when you're doing this, you want to look at the date, right? You want to make sure this picture is not 5 years old, because these bushes here may be a lot bigger than at 5 years ago, right? And so this is one thing that we want to do is to look and see, make sure that our date is within the date range here, right? Quit that. So the first thing is you can take something and measure this door here, and then we could do it that way, right? That would be the easiest way to do this. I was trying to see something else here. I don't know if I can do it here or not. Might not be able to. I thought you could. Let me see something. So I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna come here because this is the house I want. And there it is. That's what I was wanting. No, I don't want that. So we know that this is the house here. So one of the ways that I can do this here, being that this is a front roof and pretty easy is you can just click on this here and go to measure distance, right? And so I can click on here and it's going to measure to there. This is going to add a little bit. I know that. I'm going to come across here, click here. I know it's going to add a little bit more, but that's all right. It's not adding that much. And then I could get a measurement this way, right? So 77 feet. So I would call this probably 80 feet long, and that's what I would call this. This is one way that you can measure. Another thing that if it does have a peak, you can kind of go out in the yard and figure out what that is out in the yard, and that'll also give you a footage. So this is 80 feet wide or 80 feet long here. So that would be my 80 feet. So that's say $10 a foot is $800. If you did it by 8, then it's a little bit less. So that's $800, right? So $800. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, right? So we have 4 columns. So I would do $100 a piece on that. So that's 100, 200, 300, 400. So that's $1,200. I would also do ground stake lining across the whole front here. So that would be, I would say that's probably another 80 feet. So 80 times, that would be 1,600. So that's $2,000. This one, I'm not able to get a wreath on here. But I could be like, that would be 2 grand. But if I want to be like, hey, do you really want this to be like a Griswold house? We can do the roof peak here, right? So then what I could do is I can know this is 80 feet, plus I know this is whatever this is. So now I'm giving that $3,000, $4,000 quote, right? I just gave a $4,000 quote on a real simple ranch house, just like that, right? Very simple, very easy, very whatever you want to call it, and then you start looking at things. Is this my customer? And it's a nice house. They got a new driveway. They spent some money on a new driveway. They have the grass mowed. Looks like the grass is professionally mowed. So these are all things. Then if you wanted to go a little bit further, then you can start doing these bushes, and then you can outline all these bushes. So this would be a very easy one to get up to $4,000 right there. So this was 80 feet. This would be 80 feet. Let's say these are 20. So that would be 20, 40, 60, 80. So that's 80, 160, 240 plus this here. So you can see that I could have 240 plus 80, 320. I could have 320 feet here really quickly, right? Times that by 10, even 8, right? Times that by 8. You're still doing very well. Then you got your columns there, which that's pretty simple. And then if you wanted to do the bushes, this bush here is probably 2 strands, maybe 3. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I would say a case of minis here. So 24 strands, 24 times $30, there's another $500, right? So you can see how I've added up a whole bunch just right here on this house here. So that's an easy way that you can get that up real high. I want to show this house here because it is a little bit different, right? It does have the peaks there. So what you can do is I always thought you can measure this way, but I guess you can't. So on this one here, so when you come across to measure it, what you would do is you would measure distance, and then you would just come out 16 feet back, and then I would go there and there and there. So 71 feet. That's how that's an easy way to measure this house. And I'm actually off because I didn't measure this over here, right? But I don't know if that's 70 feet or not. That don't look like 70 feet, but it could be. It probably is 70 feet with you because I've also got that roof right there. So that one technically probably would be 70 or even maybe a little bit more. But I just want to show you how you can measure pretty easy, pretty quickly, and get a good idea really quick of how to measure on these houses and keep it simple, right? I didn't go and make it way harder than I needed to make it, right? This house here, I'd put a big 60-inch wreath right here. I'd do some lights here. I would do that column there, right? You can see that what I'm doing to be able to get these done pretty quickly. So what's your all's questions? If you've got questions about them and measuring, that would be awesome. $12,000 so far from past customer. That's awesome. I had a client reach out. I had a client reach out to me about my yard sign yesterday. Gave all the information our company offers, talked to both husband and wife, both super excited today. Complete silence. What is the next step? Just keep following up. Email, text, email, text, email. It's the follow-up game. Do Facebook ads work? And the answer is yes. I know several people that have had good success with them so far, closing a lot of money on them so far. And that's the thing of one of the guys on Monday that I was talking about, that was all new jobs, which pretty much a lot of them came from Facebook ads. So yes, Facebook ads do work. I recently started my company and I haven't had any installs yet. I plan to advertise, but I need pictures to use and to show people. Where can I get pictures? Can you provide some? So in my membership, I have about 1,000 pictures. If you come to my class, in-person class, you also get those. I'll send them out to you if you need them. I just sent them out to somebody this past week that came to my class last week or 2 weeks ago. And so that is usually typically who I give them out to. And if you message me, and I may give you some too. So I'm always here to try to help you out. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I love to answer your questions so that way you can help. This September, some new laws went into effect in Texas. Lawn signs are prohibited. You will be fined. I really want to see how this plays out because I know it can't be put in public, but that also means you can still put it in places of stores, schools, churches, things like that. And I know that's kind of pushing it, but I really want to know who's going to be governing this. And I would like to know who's gotten in trouble for it, right? Just because that is definitely something that would be interesting for me to figure out who is it, right? Who is going to get in trouble by putting out yard signs? And I don't know. They might crack down hard, and I would say it's probably going to be per area. I know people in Washington that they're getting hammered because you can't cut cords in Washington. By the state of Washington, technically you can. And one of my guys that I coach is in an area that two business owners, one got fined like $150,000 and the other one got fined like something like $80,000 or $100,000. And so it is definitely something that, I know other people in Washington on the other side of the state ain't having to worry about it, right? But this guy's having to worry about it because these two guys were in his town that this happened to. So, or within distance of him. And so this is why you got to be careful in what you do and how you do it, because one of the businesses that got fined $150,000, he had to go out of business because he couldn't afford the $150,000 fine. So that's kind of where, what it is to see where you are on it. What do you recommend? I would probably, being that you're in Texas and you don't know about the yard signs, I would probably be doing things like Facebook. I would be doing Facebook ads. I would be looking at Google ads. I would be looking at, your website, your Google My Business. It's kind of, you're doing it all, right? And, LinkedIn is one that if you're going after commercial, especially if you've been in business for a while, I don't know how long you've been in business, but if you've been in business for a while, then, LinkedIn, I know two people this year have already closed. One guy closed a $20,000 job and another guy closed a $15,000 job, all off of LinkedIn. And they just started LinkedIn in like a couple months ago. One that came to my Dallas class, he started LinkedIn, and after that, and he just closed a $15,000 job off of LinkedIn. And so that's pretty exciting to see that that's working and LinkedIn is working. So LinkedIn definitely is a place to get in front of business owners. And so that's kind of where I would be pushing. I don't know how many people are going to do Facebook ads this year. I haven't looked recently to see how many gazillions are out there. But it'll be interesting to see how many is going to be using Facebook ads and how many people are going to be using Google ads, especially where signs, if they are hard on signs, but there's other areas too that are really hard on signs too. Some places you just can't use signs, and there's other ways of business. I think one thing that a lot of people don't use is referrals and word of mouth and networking. Are you doing anything networking wise? Are you going to networking events? Are you doing the things of networking with other people? And when you go to these networking events, you're like, hey, I'm a Christmas light installer. You're more of a person and a human, and you build those relationships. And when you build relationships, that's when you can build a good relationship. And that's how you can get more work. And once you know the person that knows everybody and you build the trust with them, they will allow you to, they will start pushing you and they will start promoting you. And so that's how you can use that. Where can I message you at? You can email me at jason@christmaslights.io. Thank you, Carrie. I really need to figure out the best way to find leads. You and probably at most people on this call. So, you know, it's one of those things that if you know what works, do it. You know, I was on a call today and they use a different service and it's pretty expensive and they've only gotten one or two jobs off of it. And I'm like, well, that ain't working, right? And I know what worked last year for him. He put out 300 or 400 yard signs and it brought him in $60,000 or $70,000. I'm like, or almost 100, I think it was. So I'm like, we know what's working. Why are we not doubling down on yard signs then? Plus we can do the other things, but if you're willing to put out $3,000 for 1,000 yard signs, how much of the return of that's going to be at the end of it? And it's probably going to be a lot. And so these are things that when you're looking at what works and what don't, these are important things to look at to see what is going to work. Is Facebook going to work? It might. Are you in your neighborhood groups? Are you posting about everything to build people to know who you are versus, hey, I'm a Christmas light installer, I'm a Christmas light installer, I'm a Christmas light installer? Is your wife in the mom groups? Because that's where the money groups are, is the mom groups. The mom groups are the money groups. That's where your money is going to be made, is in those mom groups, right? And so these are all small ways that we are able to grow our business at the end of it, right? We are able to look at it and grow it and think of what's going to be best way for me. Once the season starts, Facebook ads might get oversaturated. There might be a ton of Facebook ads. Not to say that you won't stand out, but it might be who's going to be willing to pay $100 a day for Facebook ads or $200 a day for Facebook ads. And yes, I used to spend $200 to $400 a day in Google ads because that's how I grew my business. I knew what my numbers were. I knew what it was. I knew what the ROI was. And it was all about how do I get more leads? Late to the party. How is it going? Crazy day. Let's just say almost got to Monday's numbers and the day ain't done yet. Let's go. Thanks. Joseph Richard. I am in Texas, been in business with tree service for 3 years doing lights first year. What can I use to put out mass notifications to my past customers? I'm doing Christmas lights. Well, I'm assuming you may have a CRM, you may not. If you have a CRM, I'd be using your CRM to be able to do that, or at least export all their phone numbers out and put them into like Text Magic as an app that you're a site that you can use, and it'll text them all out. You could use Constant Contact is another one. It's okay, but it will work. Um, you know, Probably your best bet is the tech side of it and go with it that way. I got 100 churches in the area and emails and phone numbers from ChatGPT. Actually got a meeting with one and closed it. Hey, churches can be very well. I mean, we got a church around here and we were doing $15,000 a year. And now the guy that's got it 5 years later is doing $40,000 to $50,000 a year on that same church. So churches have some money. Flyering on doors is a good way, or door knocking. I didn't even talk about door knocking. Door knocking can be a great way to get a lot of business. If you can get good at the door knocking can work really well for you. Facebook Marketplace is good too. First sale off of a sign came in today. Paid for all my signs for the year. That's awesome, Matt. That's why I love signs. Do I put my phone number on yard signs? Maybe say Google Voice, but also I just started. So I would probably just do a Google Voice number. And again, you want to keep these signs simple, right? You don't want to get too crazy, right? We got big Christmas lights and a big phone number. You know, I had a guy message me this week and he's like, I put out 700 yard signs and I only did 39,000 or $40,000. I don't feel like that was very good. I'm like, that wasn't very good. What was on your yard sign? He's like, yeah, I put my website on my yard sign, didn't put my phone because my website ranks so well. Big phone number. Listen, Christmas lights, big phone number. That's keeping it simple. We don't need all these other fancy things on there. I would love to do some yard sign testing. Which sign does better, this one or the one with the little bulbs and stuff on it? I love to do some yard sign testing. That would be awesome. Get two different phone numbers so we can track which one is coming in. Maybe do different colors. Maybe do one red, one black, one whatever. Who knows? Well, I don't know what I'm assuming red does good, but you know what assuming does? It's what it does. So, that's why I love these yard signs. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Thanks for your help. Finally got a door knocker. Oh no. Oh no. Here's another one. Who's doing permanent lights this year? Right? Who's doing permanent lights? Permanent lights is another thing. They do well. You might see more of this. We got the smart lights now. If you haven't seen them on the website, they actually work really cool. They're the lights, they're the permanent lights, but we have a clip for them now that they can clip up. They're over there. I should have brought one over here. They work good. But yeah, so that's another thing that you're going to start seeing more and more of. So that is cool too. The other thing too, if you do need Christmas lights and you want to order before the end of the month, before the end of this year or this year, September, you can get 18% off. 18% off. So it's probably the cheapest you're going to get lights at this point because sometimes lights get more expensive if we start running out of inventory. I don't think we're going to run out of inventory this year, but it is going to get more expensive. And so if you want to get 18% off before the end of October, you can go to christmaslights.io and then there'll be a banner at the top when you go and you'll be able to put that I think it's like early bird 2025. I believe it is in the discount code, and that will get you 18% off. So if you want 18% off of your lights, make sure you order your lights before October 1st, so that way you can get that. Raise your prices, right? Raise your prices. No QR codes? No, we do not put QR codes on them. You can try to put QR codes on them. I haven't had nobody tell me that they've had great success with them. Not to say that they don't. I will say one other thing on yard signs, and this does work. You can put call or text on there. Like maybe I wouldn't put the website even on there. Call or text. I would probably move it here. Put call or text, and then you will start getting people to text you also. So that also works really well too, is so that way you can call or text. Text. Do you guys offer free shipping? And the answer is absolutely yes. Anything over $399 is free shipping. It's same day shipping. So if you order it today and you get it ordered by like 2:00, it will ship out today. It's very fast shipping. It's within 1 to 2 days. Last year, we were at an average of 2 days, and that was even in the busy season when when everybody starts shipping. So these are definitely something that you want to get for that. So you definitely want to get free shipping, and like I say, they're fast shipping, and so we ship from 3 different places across the country. So most places will get to you within 1 day, but definitely 2 days. So that is definitely something that is good. for you. What is good size for a yard sign? These are 18 by 24. I want them as big as you can get. Big as you can get. So if you go to christmaslight.io, it'll take you there, and then it'll take you to where all the lights are for sale. If you don't put the S on there, if you put the S in there, you kind of got to move around a little bit more. But Christmas Light will take you straight to where you need to go at. What is a good size for a yard sign? Again, the 18 by 24. That's what these are right here. 18 by 24. They're nice and big, and you can see these. You can see these 50 feet away, 3 cars up, right? If that sign is 3 cars up, you can still see this sign. And that's what we want to be able to do, is see those signs, because we want them imprinted in their head. So when they go to call us, when they go to call Christmas Lights, because now they're thinking about Christmas lights, they're going to remember us. So that's why we want to do that. So I'm excited for this year. I know that, like I said, people that I'm mentoring and people that I'm coaching and people that have had good success, it is awesome to see. I love helping people, and it's one thing that's what makes me, when I got all those messages on Monday telling me people are closing 30 and 35,000 and 68,000 and 150,000, and it makes me so excited. And I know sometimes starting out that can sound like, there ain't no way I can do that. Well, I'll tell you something. The guy that closed 68,000 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I was sitting down with him, and he had started by putting out 25 yard signs and made $125,000 his very first year. Right? And so that's the awesome thing about this. There is no rocket science about this. You just have to believe in yourself. Don't overthink it. I got so many people that want to overthink it and make it way harder than they want, and they want to keep it way difficult. And that's not what I want you to do. I want you to keep it simple. Keep it simple, right? We're going to use the KISS method. Keep it simple, silly, right? Because these are the things that are going to help you grow your business. I understand if this is your first year, you may not get to 150,000. But, I always tell people, if you come to my in-person classes and you listen to half of what I say and you take action on half of the other part of it, you will do anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000. How do I know? Because I've had many students that came that has done it $30,000 to $100,000. And that they've taken action and they're just making it happen, right? There is no easy button out there. I know everybody wants the easy button. Everybody wants to be able to just, the phone magically ring. It doesn't work that way, right? They don't want headaches. They don't want Karens, but they're going to call and they're going to drive you crazy, and you're going to go take lights back down because somebody don't want to pay the bill. And so these are all things that are going to happen, but Christmas lights at the end are so much fun. It's so exciting to see kids come out and look at their house. And this is what we want you to understand, is you can do this. There is no rocket science, right? There is no special person out there to be able to do this. You have to take action and make it happen. If you want it to just happen overnight, it's not going to work that way. I'm just going to tell you, it's not going to work that way. You've got to make sure that when you leave the class, you start taking action, right? I have a guy that left Dallas, and before Dallas, he had done 10 things on his business. He had started his LinkedIn page. He had put information on his LinkedIn page. He had made videos. He did some posts. He worked on his website. And that is what is awesome here at the end of the day. Austin, Texas, Christmas had, Craigslist had many lists. That's fine. And so they're going to have them this year too, right? And you don't need all those people. You just, people are like, well, Jason, in my area, you can't get that. You don't need 500 customers to pay you $4 a foot, because you're going to go broke. You ain't making no money. I see it all the time. Right? You only need 200 customers giving you an average ticket of $2,000. And now you've made $400,000. And it's way easier to do 200 houses than it is to do 500 or 600 houses. Because 200 houses, I can do that with me and one other person. How do I know? Because Daniel did it 2 years ago. His very first year did $179,000 with him and one other person. and him being on the truck. Is anyone getting calls from Signs? Have you heard of any early jobs from them? I have to start them now. Facebook ads have been slower today and yesterday. And the answer is yes, people have been getting phone calls off of Signs. Some have, some haven't. That's what I'd say. Thankfully, Google My Business is working well now. Let's go. Daniel, first call yesterday on yard signs, closed it. Carrie, thanks, bro. I hope we both need some help from each other in about a month. Austin, Texas, Craigslist. Yeah. So again, make sure you're getting your reviews. You know, we're getting ready for the installs. This is when we're asking for reviews at the install. We're not waiting for a while. We're asking for that review at the install. Make sure that you have your tap cards, right? You got your tap cards. You can have your other card that you can hand them with the QR code. But these are all things that make things easy for you to get these reviews. So again, if you need Christmas lights, go to christmaslight.io, and that's where you can get your Christmas lights for 18% off. So you can save you some big money. And then if you go to christmaslights.io/IPT, if you want to know when my in-person training classes is, I got 2 coming up in October. And yes, October is not too late. And so you can get there also. Daniel, 2 calls off a sign, 1 bid out for $9,000 on a sign call. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to it but to do it. That's pretty much true, right? You know, people think Christmas lights is really hard and complicated, and it's actually really easy. The hard part is getting the phone to ring. And the hard part about that is doing it, as you would say here, and I like that. So just go out there and get it done, right? It's going to be a great year. I see a lot of people already doing very well. I ordered some yard signs. Do you have any problems getting them taken up or being fined for putting them in areas where they are not allowed? And the answer is yes, they get taken up quite often. And so that's okay. We're okay with them being taken up. We just put them out on Friday and they get taken up on Monday, and they did their job. That's why I tell people to put yard signs out on Friday so they stay out over the weekend. That's when most people are thinking about it anyway, is over the weekend. They're not thinking about it during the week. They're thinking about it over the weekend. And so that's why we put them up on Friday. And if they get taken down on Monday, so be it. Go put them out again. That's why they're only $3. So that's the easy way to do it. Don't get all butt hurt because that someone's taking your signs. Because it might be the city, it might be your competitor, who don't know who it is. It might be some Karen, and they're going to call and act like they're the city and say that you're going to get fined. And here it's some Karen saying that. So, but again, not hopefully, because you know the words you speak are so important, and hopefully doesn't do nothing. So this week, I want you to go out and take action. I want you to figure out what are you going to do for your marketing plan for 2025. You should have probably figured this out a while ago, but if you haven't figured it out, if you're just starting out, you don't know what it might be. Maybe you put out 100 yard signs. Maybe you buy 300 yard signs. And if you buy 300 yard signs, I would put out 50 a week in October and 100 a week in November, because November is when it gets really, really, really busy. So the thing that I love to see how much people have already closed just in September tell me that this is going to be an amazing year for Christmas lights. And so with that, if you want it, this is the time to start. Some people want to wait, and they want to wait till next year. And I'll tell you, even if this was November 25th, I'd tell you, go ahead and start your Christmas light business now. Get 1 or 2 jobs in this year. Start learning the system. Start learning the processes. You got plenty of time to start this business this year. I've had people come November 14th and make $30,000 from November 14th to December 10th, because that's your days of doing Christmas lights. And so just the biggest thing I would say is go take action. And if you need to get lights, you can get 18% off. I might even give you a deal. I might give you a deal that if you buy $5,000 worth of, I will do that deal. I'll make it up right now. If you buy $5,000 worth of lights, I will give you free training. You can come to my free class. You can come to my training class in October. Pick one of the two in October, and you can come for free. And I will help you grow your business. So that's what I will do for you. Went to Knoxville, and Knox County don't have yard signs. I looked it up, and it said some kind of permit. How do I get the permit or get around that? Go put them out and see what happens. Ask questions later. I know I can get in trouble for that, but it's what I've done. They're usually going to call you and tell you you can't put them up, and then that's when you're like, okay, I told my guy not to put them up out there. But with that, you all hope you all have an amazing week this week. I will be flying to Houston, Texas, with Mr. Ron Roby, and I seen David Merle's going to be there, and a bunch of people are going to be there. So Zuzak's going to be there, so it's going to be a good time. Lots of learning, lots and lots of learning. So and networking, there's going to be a lot of people there, so there'll be a lot of networking, a lot of good people there, which is awesome to see. I love seeing people network. I love seeing people take action. And with that, hopefully you all have a great night, and we'll see you all later, and see you later.